Today, we're diving into a topic that is changing the game for both providers and patients. I'm joined by the amazing Jane Guo, registered dietitian and founder of Habits Nutrition Counseling. Jane's going to show us how to use ChatGPT to make nutrition concepts easier to understand, apply them more confidently, and ultimately improve health outcomes. So, whether you're a healthcare provider looking to save time and enhance education, or a patient wanting more support on your journey, this session is for you. Go ahead, and Jane, I'm going to let you introduce yourself for a bit and we'll get started.
All right. Can you see my screen?
I can.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you for that introduction, Whitney. Hi, everyone. My name is Jane Guo, and as Whitney said, I'm a registered dietitian. I own Habits Nutrition Counseling, which is a telehealth private practice where I do one-on-one nutrition counseling, specializing with people who want to manage their weight or have had bariatric surgery or are on GLP-1 medications to manage their weight. On top of that, I am also just a super nerd about AI and how AI can be used to help dietitians and clinicians improve our efficiency in our work. So I speak at conferences a lot about to other clinicians and dietitians, and I do talks like this where I'm speaking to patient populations like you guys about how to use ChatGPT to improve your nutrition. So that's what we'll get into today, and I'm super excited to have this to do this talk. Skip to the next slide. All right, so this is what we'll learn today. Number one, how to use ChatGPT to do things like create meal plans. After creating that meal plan, how to get grocery lists and recipe ideas, how to tailor those meal plans based on your food preferences, your dietary restrictions, your cooking skill level, really any like specification that you need to tailor your meal plan to. I'm going to show you how to ask ChatGPT for those specifics. How to save time in the kitchen with asking ChatGPT for recipes, for help with cooking, for ingredient swaps, and how to use ChatGPT to learn about nutrition concepts. I'm also going to show you some do's and don'ts and caution you with some things about when you're using ChatGPT for nutrition information and when to ask a real dietitian those nutrition questions instead. And have your phones ready to screenshot or take pictures of your screen because I'm going to give you a lot of practical ChatGPT prompts that are copy paste ready that you can just plug and chug into ChatGPT on your own and help you elevate your nutrition game. So before we get into it, let's talk about what even is ChatGPT. I know a lot of you have heard of it before, but just in case some of you haven't, ChatGPT is a AI language model that can answer questions, it can give you ideas, it can really just hold a conversation in natural language, which means you're talking to a robot, but almost feels like you're talking to a human. It's available now through a mobile app, so you can use it on your phone on an app, or you can use it on the website using your desktop at chatgpt.com. And I do have to disclaim that while ChatGPT is a great tool, it is not a licensed healthcare provider. Let me say that again. ChatGPT is not a licensed healthcare provider. Yes, it can help you gather information, it can help you explore ideas, and it can help you learn about nutrition, but it cannot diagnose and it cannot treat medical conditions, nor can it provide medical nutrition therapy. Okay, we'll talk about this a little bit more, but medical nutrition therapy is what dietitians do. What we do is we take into consideration your medical history, your labs, your physical activity, your food preferences, your lifestyle, your day-to-day living, everything that kind of affects how you eat and what you eat. We take all of that into consideration to practice medical nutrition therapy. That's what a dietitian can do, but that is not something that ChatGPT can do. But let me show you what ChatGPT can do. You can use it for getting a meal plan. The basic prompt you can use for that is create a structured 3-day meal plan with easy, balanced meals. And this is how you can tailor the response to your specific needs. If you have special dietary restrictions, you can tell ChatGPT your dietary restrictions. If you have special food preferences, for example, I dislike oatmeal and yogurt, you can say that in your prompt, and it will leave out foods with oatmeal and yogurt. If you are a beginner cook, you can specify that and it'll give you easier recipes. Just say, I'm a beginner cook, make sure the recipes are easy to make, something like that. If you are a busy person, you have time constraints and you need the recipes to be ready in like 30 minutes or less, say that. I only provide recipes that can be made in 30 minutes or less. If let's say, you're going on a camping trip and you only have limited cooking equipment available, you can specify that. I will be on a camping trip with only X, Y, and Z equipment available for food prep. What kind of recipes can I make or can I take with me to eat on this camping trip? Um, Specify how many people you're cooking for. Are you cooking for one person? Are you cooking for a family? Are you cooking for a whole dinner party? Number seven, specify your protein calorie goals. Now, I put an asterisk here for this one because I do recommend you work with a dietitian to find the right macro and calorie goals for you, because this is very individualized. You do not want to be getting this information from the internet or calculating it yourself. There's a lot of ways that that this calculation can be misunderstood and miscalculated, and that can put you at risk for under nutrition. Number eight, you can instruct it to optimize ingredient usage. I know I always hate food waste. So one little prompt that I throw in there if I'm asking for a meal plan is reuse ingredients across multiple meals efficiently to minimize waste. And that usually gets ChatGPT thinking about how it can use the same ingredients across multiple different meals in that meal plan. And really any other relevant information you can think of that you want your meal plan to be specialized or tailored for, put that in your prompt in ChatGPT. And when you create your big prompt, this is what that final prompt might look like for you. So create a structured 3-day meal plan for a vegetarian. Each day must include 3 meals and 2 snacks. Meals should include a diverse selection of whole grains, plant proteins, and vegetables. Make sure each meal has at least 25 grams of protein. Calculate and show the protein content of each meal or meal component. Do not include oatmeal or yogurt. Optimize ingredient usage to reduce food waste and minimize leftover ingredients, and the plan should reuse ingredients across multiple meals in a logical and efficient way. So I'm actually going to copy and paste this right into ChatGPT. Can you still see my screen when I've switched to the ChatGPT window? Okay,
Yep.
perfect. So I'm going to copy and paste that prompt here, and I'm going to show you live. Um, or you're not watching this live, but you're watching a recording of a live. Um, of what it's going to look like when you ask ChatGPT for a meal plan. Now, I do want to say I am using the paid version of ChatGPT. It's the $20 a month plan, but you should also be able to use this on the free version. And the free version is pretty powerful in its functionality and capabilities now. They're always improving. So honestly, this webinar, some of the things I say on this webinar today, it might be outdated as they're improving and updating all their functionality by like next week.
Hey, I wanted to add too, sometimes you don't know the types of things that you want to ask ChatGPT from the get-go. So it can very much look like a conversation. So you may put half of this in there to begin with, and then you see the results that it comes up with, but you notice things that you don't want in those results. You can literally say, take these away. I don't like this. Like you can treat it as a form of a conversation and edit your results in that fashion.
Absolutely. For someone who so for someone like me who does meal plans all day, every day, I know exactly what I need to ask. I know exactly what I need to specify for. So that's why I'm able to come up with this big prompt that has all the specifications that I need. But for someone who doesn't know what to ask, maybe you're not a dietitian, and a lot of us aren't. And it can be hard to come up with that big mega prompt straight off the bat. So you can definitely treat it like a conversation, like Whitney said, and ask as you go along. So here is the response, and it's this is a new functionality from ChatGPT actually, where it puts like the meal plans into this little window, and it gives you like this table, very well organized. And I'm gonna expand this view in a little bit, but I wanted to show you kind of what it says. Here's your structured 3-day vegetarian meal plan. Every meal has at least 25 grams of protein with snacks. I've also optimized ingredient usage across meals to minimize waste. Let me know if you'd also like all of this stuff. So this tells me that it knows what I'm asking for, and it is trying to deliver that in this meal plan. So here's a meal plan organized in table format. You can see it has breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner. So it has that 3 meals and 2 snacks layout that I asked for. All of these meals seem to be vegetarian, which is what I asked for. And it gives me the protein in grams next to it. So that's also something I asked for. Um, with the macro calculations, sometimes it will be a little bit off. These are really just estimates, but most of the time it's a pretty close estimate. So,
To add, like, this is just giving us protein, but you can go a step further and say, give me the calorie amounts, or give me the
yeah.
exact amounts and portions what I should be having in order to
Mhm.
get this. So if you're missing information that you want, you can also ask to add that information to a new chart or a new description.
Absolutely. Let's try that right now, Whitney. Um, so I can add, like, let's say you wanted the calorie information. I can say provide calorie count for each meal. Hit enter. And it will probably generate a brand new one of these tables.
I'm not kidding. ChatGPT has definitely changed the landscape of everything, of course, but in the nutrition world, I think when someone is completely lost, they don't know where to start, if they don't have a program to follow, like just having conversations and experimenting with this type of technology can be absolutely just, I hate the word game changing all the time, but game changing for everybody. It really gives people a sense of where to start. It's almost, I hate to say it's a source of education because you don't know, you can actually go a step further and say clinical evidence based, like,
Mhm.
you can even do that and vet your resources or vet the sources that it's coming from. But, in order, it's almost like an education piece too. You can learn from it.
Absolutely. And I do think it has it's very useful, it has its time and place, but I do think there needs to be education about how to use it, how to prompt it, and how to extract information from it, or else it's just going to be like the internet. There's a lot of
Yeah.
misinformation floating around on the internet, and that's what essentially ChatGPT is trained off of, is they scraped all the information ever known to man from the internet, from books. So even if there is misinformation, that might happen to make its way into the training database of ChatGPT, and that will show up in its responses. So you still have to know what to ask for, how to ask it, how to prompt it, things like that. Okay, so it made a new. Is this a new table? Yeah. So it made a new table, and it added a new column with the calorie count. And again, these are estimates. I don't know if these are completely accurate, but if you really want accuracy, I would check using like Chronometer or MyFitnessPal or something like that to get more accuracy. All
Oh,
right, let's go back. Yep,
thank you for showing that. That was so helpful.
yep, and I have more, just wait. All right, so after you get that meal plan, you can ask ChatGPT for a grocery list. So here's the prompt to ask for a grocery list. Provide a grocery list for the meal plan. Organize the list by store section. So I'll put that prompt back into ChatGPT, and you can use the same conversation thread. You don't have to keep starting a new conversation every time. When you use the same conversation thread, it will remember what you were talking about before, and it's called the context window, and it has a pretty large context window now. So here's your grocery list, and for the most part, I found it to be pretty accurate. Sometimes it will forget a few items, but that was when I tried it like a few months ago. So I haven't tried it very recently with generating grocery lists, but it's always improving. Okay, let's go back to the slides. After you get the grocery list, you can ask it for recipes for each of the meals in the meal plan. So use this prompt, provide easy recipes for each meal, and provide links to recipes. And here's a tip I'll show you is anytime you ask for links, sometimes if you don't turn on the web search function, it might give you like old links or broken links. So if I'm gonna ask for links, I'm gonna turn on this web search function, and it's gonna be more likely to give me the most recent links, because this allows it to search the internet in real time.
I've actually never used that search button or the deep research. Can you tell me a high level of what those two things are? I mean, you just told me
Yeah,
what search was, but
Yeah, so I've been using the paid version of ChatGPT for a long time now that I'm not really sure if these functionalities are available on the free version. I'll
I
have
think
to
they
double
are.
check.
I
They
think they are.
are? Okay. So web search is what I just said about, so this response is generated with the web search function turned on, and you can see that it gives me links. So like, let's go to this tofu scramble recipe. So this is a working link.
Yes.
Um, a lot of times, if I don't turn on web search, it will give me links that are like 404 error not found because the links are old. But what the web search feature does is it allows ChatGPT to search the internet in real time, like as it is currently. So all the links should be updated. I still will come across a few broken links even with the web search feature turned on, but it's a lot less frequent than if I were to use it without the web search feature turned on. So,
Oh,
and then you asked about deep research. That is, I want to say that's on the paid version only, but you've seen it on free?
I can't be 100%. I can't remember. I think
Okay.
I've seen it though. I don't know.
Deep research is how to best describe it? It allows you to like essentially research very exactly what it says, deeply research a topic, and it's almost it gives you a response almost as if it's writing a research article for you with peer-reviewed articles and links and
Okay.
things like that. Yes. All right. So now we have recipes. Now you can start meal prepping, meal planning, and going to the grocery store, shopping for your food, and then following these recipes and meal prepping and you meet your nutrition goals. All right. So what else can you do with ChatGPT? So now that we've gone to the grocery store, we've shopped for our meals, we're meal prepping in the kitchen now. How can ChatGPT help you in the kitchen? Well, if you have leftovers, one thing you can do is take a picture of the ingredients that you have left over and upload them to ChatGPT and ask, what can I make with these recipes? And let's say you have like leftover turkey and leftover bell pepper and some lettuce. It might tell you, you can do like ground turkey sauteed with bell peppers and then do like a lettuce wrap, and it'll give you different ideas of what to do with those. You can ask it for step-by-step instructions, especially if you're a beginner learning how to cook. You can say, I'm a beginner at cooking. Teach me the most basic way to cook a chicken breast or how to boil an egg. So it's a great tool for learning how to do things. What if you want to swap ingredients. What can I substitute for sour cream in this recipe? What swaps can I make in this recipe to make it a little bit healthier? Or same with recipe modifications. You want to modify a recipe for someone who's vegan, or if this recipe makes 4 portions, but I want to make enough to feed 6 people, adjust this recipe for me. You can also use ChatGPT for nutrition education. If you've ever wanted to learn about some nutrition concepts, ChatGPT is a great tool for really any kind of education as long as you know how to prompt it. But things I would ask it if I wanted to learn about nutrition were like would be like learning about nutrients. Ask it, what does fiber do for the body? You can ask it to explain to me like I'm 12, so it doesn't use a lot of like big jargon and it gives it to you in a easy to understand way. You can ask it to compare foods, explain the difference, the nutritional differences between white potato and sweet potato. Ask it which one is better. A lot of times, when someone asks me a question like that, I will answer with, no, white potato and sweet potato. It's not that one is superior than the other. They just have a little bit different nutrients in them, like specifically sweet potato has more vitamin A and a little bit of extra fiber, but that doesn't mean that white potato is unhealthy and that you shouldn't choose white potato. And that is actually the same way that ChatGPT will answer that question. So I'm really proud of ChatGPT for
Love
that.
it.
Because I don't like to ever demonize a food and
No,
make people feel like you can never eat a white potato or white rice.
right.
Um, Another thing is if you want to understand food groups, ask what are the main food groups, why are they important, give examples of foods in each food group. And this is another thing that, if you're working with a dietitian, sometimes will tell you, eat more healthy fats, eat more protein, eat more fiber. And we use these like descriptor um, words for these categories of foods, but not a lot of people know what is a fiber, what is a healthy fat. And so this is a great way. Of course, I'm going to give you resources too to help you learn what is fiber, what is healthy fat, but ChatGPT is another great way for you to go learn on your own and look up food lists of these different food groups. Another big one is like reading nutrition labels. That's something I do a lot of education on as well if we're on a one-on-one session. But if you wanted to ask ChatGPT how to read a nutrition label, just ask it, teach me to read a nutrition label, and it does a pretty good job.
Love it.
All right, so some things to use caution with when you're using ChatGPT for nutrition information is the number one biggest thing that I see that I see it being inaccurate on is food allergies. And that's a big deal because food allergies can really be life or death. Um, sometimes I will ask it, like, I'll tell it I have a nut allergy and it'll still give me almond milk. Or I'll say I'm allergic to sesame seeds, and it'll still give me tahini, which is a sesame seed paste. So if you have food allergies, please know what you are allergic to, and work with a dietitian to really understand your food allergy. That is one of the biggest shortcomings and cautions that I would caution you about with ChatGPT. If you're using ChatGPT for calorie count or for estimating calories and macros, just know that they might not always be accurate. So if you need accuracy, use an app like Chronometer or MyFitnessPal where you can track different things, and also work with a dietitian to see if you even need to be that accurate with your counting. A lot of times you don't have to be that diligent with your counting, and being that diligent can actually ruin your relationship with food. But that's something that you want to work with a dietitian on. Portion sizes. Suggested portion sizes may not always be suitable for your needs. This isn't something that's inherent to ChatGPT meal plans, but this is something that's for meal plans in general, no matter if it's human generated or AI generated. Any meal plan you come across, that meal plan is never going to know your needs on that specific day, in that specific meal. All your needs for like how much you need to eat change day to day, depending on so many different factors. So if you're if you're following a meal plan, you don't always need to follow the portion sizes exactly. Use it as a guide, but the best way to know how much to eat is to listen to your cues that are coming from your body. And that's something that if you're working with a dietitian on, that's something we really want to work on if you're struggling with that. And that's not something that ChatGPT can help you with. Cultural foods, ChatGPT is not always going to be knowledgeable about cultural foods. If you don't specify a cultural food, it's going to give you, how do I say, white people food.
That's so nice.
But if you but if you specify a cultural food, then it'll give you foods from that culture. Sometimes, like I said earlier, links could be broken. Um, and we talked about earlier, turning on that web search feature to give you less broken links. Sometimes it can still happen even with the web search feature on. And then also incomplete lists, like maybe you're asking for a grocery list, and sometimes it doesn't give you all the ingredients that you need. So just some things to watch out for. And this is when to ask a dietitian your nutrition questions instead of asking ChatGPT. Anytime you're wondering about how many calories you should eat, how many macros, protein, carbs, fiber, what your weight goal should be, these numbers vary from person to person, really need individualized guidance. You need someone who knows you, knows your medical history, knows your goals. And has a whole picture of you in order to give you that guidance. And that's not something that ChatGPT can give you. If you have any medical conditions, diabetes, PCOS, heart disease, high cholesterol, kidney issues, food allergies, any of those things, you really want to work with a dietitian instead of asking ChatGPT for those questions. Same thing with specially tailored meal plans if you're working on managing your weight, if you just had bariatric surgery, if you have chronic conditions, or if you're an athlete with unique needs, you really want to be working with a registered dietitian. If you have a poor relationship with food, if you experience emotional eating, binge eating, or disordered eating, or have an eating disorder, it's probably not best to ask ChatGPT about your nutrition questions because that can kind of exacerbate those disordered eating behaviors and eating disorders. So you really want to be working with a dietitian there. And it's because these questions require a lot of nuance and a lot of individualization. So, work with a dietitian who knows your medical history, your labs, your eating habits, physical activity, lifestyle, all of that. And that is what we call medical nutrition therapy. Medical nutrition therapy is a clinical approach to treating or managing medical conditions and their associated symptoms through the use of a specifically tailored meal or nutrition plan. And ChatGPT, again, is not licensed to provide medical nutrition therapy. Only dietitians are licensed to provide it. So, to wrap up our session today, here's what I want you to take away. ChatGPT is a powerful tool that you can use for meal ideas. You can use it to help you with cooking, learning about nutrition topics. It can save you time. It can reduce decision fatigue if you're like deciding what to eat or what to cook, help you build healthier habits. So there definitely is a time and a place to use ChatGPT to help you with your nutrition. However, it is not a replacement for a real dietitian. And I believe that the best results happen when tech and expert guidance kind of work together, not one replacing the other. And here's when you should talk to a real dietitian. If you have health conditions, diabetes, PCOS, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, food allergies, any special cases like bariatric surgery, if you're an athlete, if you have an eating disorder, disordered eating, if you're asking questions about pediatric nutrition, definitely talk to a real dietitian. If you want to have accountability in your eating habits and on your health journey, you want to have a real human there instead of ChatGPT. If you're feeling overwhelmed or stuck about anything nutrition related, I cannot tell you how many times, how many people come to me feeling this sense of overwhelm from having just learned about a new diagnosis that they have, and now they're on the internet searching about what to eat for this new diagnosis that I have, and their doctor gave them some handouts about this diet and that diet, and their friends and family is telling them, oh, you should do vegetarian diet, keto diet, and they just have this fire hydrant of information coming at them from all different angles. And then they come to me and see a dietitian, and we help consolidate all that information into just the information that you need. So that's what a dietitian can do for you. And ChatGPT can very easily become another source of, misinformation if you are, panically asking it, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? So definitely talk to a real dietitian if you are in that state of overwhelm. And so, with that being said, I want to plug myself. I am the owner of Habits Nutrition Counseling, and it's a telehealth nutrition practice where I help people who are working on their weight, working on if you're on a GLP-1 medication for weight loss, or if you've had bariatric surgery or getting bariatric surgery. That's what I specialize in. Um, I'm currently accepting clients in Georgia and in Texas for telehealth counseling. And I take Aetna and United Healthcare. And if you have a different insurance other than that, I can provide you a super bill, which is something you can submit to your insurance company for possible reimbursement. And if you're paying out of pocket because you listened to this webinar today, you can use the code Alterra for 10% off on your initial visit if you're paying out of pocket. So if you scan that QR code, you'll get taken to my website where you can fill out the application to apply to work with me. And with that, um, I want to leave it up for discussion or questions from you, Whitney. Oh, and then one more thing I want to say is I made this PowerPoint on using an AI tool called Gamma. So what I did was I I outlined the presentation, outlined everything I wanted to say, using the help of ChatGPT, of course, and then made sure all the information was correct, of course, and then I plugged it into this app called Gamma.app, and it's an AI tool that just generates all these slides for me. And on each slide, it's editable. You can drag different things, different places, and add pictures and stuff like that. So it really saved me a lot of time. So that's just
AI,
something.
AI has totally changed everything in terms of working smarter and not harder and really getting the most value out of your time. If you know what you're doing and you can be credible with your sources and you can have dependable references, AI is just an incredible tool. And I'm so happy you did this today. I think this is such an incredible learning experience, number one, but I think it really has um, it'll have a large impact on in clinics. Number one, if our providers can coach patients in how to use ChatGPT in a responsible way, this can really help them in the clinic. But also just patients that are lost and alone at home and they need someone to talk to, talk to ChatGPT and talk to a dietitian. But yes, I am so thankful for this workshop today. I think this is phenomenal.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, Whitney.
Yeah. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. If you haven't already, if you're we have your license in Georgia and Texas. We have clinics and in Georgia and Texas. So everyone listening to this, she is licensed in your state. So if you want medical nutrition therapy and you want one-on-one coaching going into a deep dive of your life, your lifestyle, your diet, specific recommendations, calculations, get in touch with Jane. But thank you everyone for joining us. We hope this session gave you practical and easy ways to bring AI into your wellness journey. To all of our members, don't forget to check out our other workshops in the learning platform. Jane's got a couple of them. Actually, you have one in there about creating systems to build habits. Guys, that's a phenomenal one too. So really look at that one if you're looking to build habits. That'll really teach you great ways to start building habits that can stick. So all of our providers that are watching this, if you're interested in offering more tools and resources like this to your patients, please connect with us anytime. We'd love to support you. So until next time, bye guys.